distancing requirements, and I'll tell you what's going to happen. You tell me how effectively a local government enforces the guidelines, and I'll tell you what is going to happen. So none of this is predetermined. This is all a function of what we do today going forward. And the smarter, the more disciplined we are, the lower that infection rate will climb. The lower the infection rate climbs, the more you increase the economic activity. It is a formula. It is math. And that is at both at the same time. It's liberating because it takes the politics out of it. It takes a personal opinion out of it. But it's also something you can measure and track, and you will know exactly what's going to happen because it's a function of what we're doing. It's up to us. It's up to you. It's the collective. We're going to decide the future that starts today. We should also set our goal high, right? We're coming back. We're coming back from the closing. All right, so what is our goal? I say it should not just be about we're going to reopen. Reopen suggests you're going to go back to where you were before the closure. We're going to go back to the day before the closure. No. Life is never about going backwards. Life is never about I want to get back to where I was. It has to be about building back better than before. We want to go forward. We want to advance. And that's what we have to think about going through this. Yeah, we took a hard blow, and we got knocked down. No fault of our own. Whoever created that virus, Mother Nature, God, whoever. No fault of our own. Welcome to life. Things happen outside of your control that you couldn't do anything about, but it just happens. And then the question becomes, are you strong enough to get back up once life knocks you down? And are you smart enough to learn from what you went through in life? And when you get back up, you will be the better for it. I believe that. That's my story. That's our story. That's the story of Buffalo, getting knocked down, changing the economy. All right, but we're going to get back up because we're strong enough, and we're going to learn from it because we're smart enough. That's the story of Buffalo. That's the story of New York. That is the American story, right? It's what made this country the best country on the globe. Not that we didn't get knocked down. We got knocked down plenty. But we were smart enough to learn and strong enough to get back up. And that's where we have to set our sights. Not about reopening. We're going to make this place better than ever before. Because what we went through is a transformative experience in life on an individual level and on a social level. We're not going to be the people we were the day before. We're going to be better. We're going to be smarter. We're going to be stronger for what we went through. We're going to be a stronger society for what we went through. I believe that. And we're going to have a stronger Buffalo, a stronger New York, and a stronger America. And that's what it means to be New York tough, smart, united, disciplined, and loving. Thank you. Questions?
Governor, it appears, if I understand the numbers right, that the state reset some of the metrics to make Western New York eligible to reopen. That's the way it looks, at least. Can you explain that or clarify that, specifically hospitalizations and hospital deaths?
The hospitalizations and hospital deaths are on a 3-day rolling average. So you have to compute it from a 3-day average. And that's what we've been doing. And then you pick a date, and it's 3 days from there. I don't know anything beyond that.
No, that's correct. It was the net change in the daily spike in cases couldn't exceed 15 hospitalizations or 5 deaths over a 3-day rolling average, or the 14-day straight decline. It was always either or. So in this instance for Western New York, it's on that rolling average, and the rolling average of the last 3 days, The hospitalizations is actually -6 on the 3-day rolling average, and the deaths is 2. So it falls under.
Sorry, most of the website though notes it's the maximum of that 3-day rolling average, which
It's
would be
over,
28.
no, it's over the course of the 3-day rolling average, and it's the last 3 days.
3-day rolling average is just that. Take the last 3 days and average it.
There is a large contingent of New Yorkers frustrated with your comments yesterday about unemployment. You said yesterday that the majority of the backlog had been cleared. Thousands of New Yorkers say they filed in March, they haven't heard, they have recertified every week, they have no money, and they can't get through the state still. Have you heard from those people, and what is your message to them?
Commissioner Reardon's going to be doing a call today to speak to that directly, but as of this morning, we've now given out $9.2 billion to 2 million New Yorkers. That's not to say that everybody has been paid. As I said, there's 3 major categories that are left outstanding for anyone beyond the 3-week backlog, and that is either hasn't certified partial information. A lot of those people fit into the partial information category where either a social security number is wrong or one of the pieces of information that the Fed's mandate has not been turned in or has not been verified, or suspected fraud. And we actually have Department of Labor specialists that are actively not just waiting for people to fix those issues, but reaching out to those people directly to try to rectify them. That doesn't mean every single person has been cleared from the backlog. It's the majority of the people have been cleared from the backlog, and the fact that now 2 million New Yorkers have been paid, and it aligns with the number of New Yorkers who have filed. We're getting very, very close. So for the people who are outstanding, that is now the exception, not the rule, and DOL is working round the clock to address those issues. And Commissioner Reardon will be speaking again exclusively in a call today just to answer questions on this.
You won't say how big the backlog is. How
She
big is
will
the
today.
backlog?
She will today. She's going to address it today.
Yeah, but also let's remember the context. You know, people are angry here, people are angry here. People are angry everywhere right now with good reason. Here's the needle you have to thread, right? We have an unprecedented number of unemployment claims. It has overwhelmed every state in the United States of America. I talk to governors all day long. Everyone is dealing with this. Federal government just passes a new law a couple of weeks ago, changes all the rules. All the states have to change the program to fit the new rule. And you're getting literally millions of calls where you got thousands of calls previously. Come up with a better system, a better website, more phones. We have 3,000 employees on phones and the website. Get the money out the door, get the money out the door, get that money out the door. Then you have another pressure, which is, hey, this is taxpayer money. Make sure there's no fraud. I hope you're not giving out money to somebody who doesn't qualify. I hope you're meeting every federal test. All that 476 criteria, I hope you're checking every box. And now you're getting fraud alerts. We think people are defrauding the unemployment system. We think there may be widespread computer cyber fraud where these people don't even exist. And it's a fraud scheme all done on a computer because you're not seeing people anymore, right? There's no person who walks in the door. It's all on the other side of a computer, and you're giving out billions of dollars in this country. So be careful that you're not being subject to some kind of computer fraud and you're responding to Susie Smith, but there is no Susie Smith. Susie Smith is really a computer terminal in some other country. So, right? Because I guarantee you, a few weeks from now, I'm going to be at a press conference like this, and someone's going to say people are really angry that you gave out a lot of money and the people didn't exist and they were just computer scam artists, and how did you not know? So,
Governor, a local law firm has filed a suit in federal court against you and against the Attorney General in its claim. The order is to force people to work off-site. They call it an abuse of power. Have you had a chance to review this lawsuit? And we're eager for your opinion if you have.
I have not seen the lawsuit or heard about it. The theory is it's wrong to ask people to work off-site?
They complain that by forcing some of their employees to go home to work off-site, they're calling it an abuse of power by the state.
Yeah, I don't know, yeah. Look, a lot of people say a lot of things, right? that falls in that category of a lot of people say a lot of things. Sir.
Governor, today's Victoria Day, which normally in Niagara Falls, all the hotels would be full, the Miss boats would be jam-packed, and I think Lieutenant Governor last week heard her earful from the tourism folks. In the later phases, what game plan do you have to try to get tourists back to New York State?
Well, tourism is not going to be just a New York State question. It's a national question. It's an international question. When will people get back on planes, right? When does the economy bounce back that people have money to spend on tourism? The jam-packed boats, that's going to be a question of when can you do jammed-packed? When can you do a jam-packed stadium, a jam-packed restaurant, a jam-packed bar, jam-packed boat? You know, they're all going to be in that jam-packed question.
On that note, when you say you're encouraging professional sports teams to reopen without fans, is that just for the foreseeable future? Do you foresee that for the end of the NFL season? And,
Well, I think-
how much should state and local officials be part of those conversations about what these professional sports teams should do?
Well, first, my opinion is they have to do a ramp up anyway, right? They have to start. They have to have a camp. They have to go through administrative procedures. If they can economically have games with no fans and the numbers work for them, the economics work because the TV revenue is enough without the fan revenue, and that's actually a sport-by-sport determination. Some sports actually rely more on the TV income, televised income, than the stadium arena income. But if they can make the numbers work, I say great. Come back. The state will work with you because remember, government rules right now could stop a team coming back, right? What's essential, what's not essential. So I'm saying the state will work with them to come back. They have to make their own economic decision whether that economic model works for them. Can you do hockey without fans? Can you do baseball without fans? Can you do football without fans? They have to make that decision. But any way we can help, we would help. And then they'll be up and running. And then when we can fill a stadium again, we can fill a stadium. But why wait until you can fill a stadium before you start to bring the team back? And if you can televise it in the meantime, great. I mean, it's not as good as going to a game or, you know, going to a bar and watching the game. But people who are at home, if you had the chance to watch sports, you know, I'm watching the reruns right now of the old classic games, and that's fun. But I'd rather watch current sports on TV if it works.
Governor, what about houses of worship, libraries, things
Same
like that?
thing.
What's the schedule, you know, for them? There's a lot of clamoring about,
Yeah.
especially worship.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's all, you know, jammed boats, jammed temple, jammed churches, anywhere where you have the concentration and the density, the gatherings, that is the issue. The gathering is the issue. Remember what we learned, right? We've made mistakes, so let's not make the same mistakes twice. We had the first hotspot in the United States. The first, they called it a hotspot, before it was even called a hotspot. The first super spreader, before they even called them super spreaders, was New Rochelle, Westchester. How New Rochelle, Westchester? One person who went to a religious gathering and then a ceremony infected dozens and dozens. You know, when they talk about the meat processing plants in the Midwest and the outbreaks in the meat processing plants, it has nothing to do with the meat. It's the fact that you had 1,000 employees, 500 employees. We have a situation in Madison County. You have a couple of hundred people, and you have one person who's infected, you have a problem. So they all come in that same category. Nobody can tell you when you'll be ready for that, but the answer is follow, the answer is everybody will know, because if you follow the numbers and you follow the math, you will watch that infection rate and you will see the trajectory of progress. It's that simple.
Do they fall into in terms of those 4 phases for reopening, and do they fall into, 1, 2, 3, or 4?
Oh, that's on the website. Does anyone know what,
It wasn't, I don't think
Oh,
the houses of
no.
worship isn't on there.
Robert?
Houses of worship, as if you were just to open them up regularly with new guidelines, would fall in the last stage, because as the governor said, that's a mass gathering. The same thing with a stadium, the same thing with any situation where you have a lot of people together, right? The question is whether or not you could do something less than that. But that's still an open question, is whether or not you can.
It hasn't been determined whether they could be a small group, like, 10, 15, 20 people?
Right, not yet.
I spoke to a nursing home administrator Friday who said they had no idea the state was sending them testing kits, and they were being told they had to pay for them themselves, went out, procured some on their own. What's the line of communication between the state and nursing homes in terms of how we're gonna get these kits to you and how many you're going to get?
Well, we're on daily communication. This scale of testing is new for everyone. Everyone is trying to figure out how to get tests, how to buy tests, how to get the testing kits, how to get the testing machines. Hospitals are doing that, labs are doing that, nursing homes are doing that, employers are doing that. So that is nothing new. We just worked very hard over the weekend, secured testing capacity from the labs, private labs, that will be set aside for nursing homes, and testing kits that we can procure and send to nursing homes to help them. Also remember, nursing home staff is a person. You could be a nursing home staff. Okay, go to a drive-in, go to the CVS, go to Rite Aid. There's a lot of places that you can now get a test. And we have many places that are underutilized, right? We have some drive-ins that can do 15,000 tests a day. They're only doing 5,000 tests a day. I mean, we work day and night to get this testing capacity up. We're not even using it right now. So you can say, if you're a nursing home, look, it's a operational pain. People don't want to get tested twice a day. I understand that. But we know that there's the ability, 700 testing sites around the state. You can go right now, and you could get a test right now. Just go through a drive-in on the way home. I stood up yesterday, had it done, showed people how easy it was. I understand they don't want to do it, but these are senior citizens, and I want to be able to say on behalf of the state, we did everything we could. And testing twice a week of a staff member, I don't think is excessive. Well, why don't we do once a week? You do once a week, you take a test on Mondays. You got infected on Tuesday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you spread that virus in a nursing home. And then you found out a week later when you tested positive. You know how many people you could have hurt by then? That's why twice a week. Sir, take one more.
You talk about how important it is to listen to experts here on this stuff. If you talk to the experts on nursing homes, they'll tell you before COVID-19, New York State had one of the lowest levels of care in nursing homes and some of the most lax enforcement by the state health department. So is the state not in some way to blame for what happened?
Yeah, I don't believe that experts would say that. We have over 600 nursing homes. We've had one of the best nursing home systems in the country for a long period of time. You can always have people who say, well, you should do more. That always happens. And we are doing more. And by the way, now we're doing more. And they're complaining that we're doing more than any other state. You can't have it both ways, right?
Given the outsized impact.
Last question. Yes, ma'am.
Given the outsized impact that some counties have on an entire region, has there been any thought given to publicly posting the county breakdown as far as the reopening metrics go? Because right now, those aren't available. And is there any more clarification you can give regarding how much time we need to wait between reopening phases? We said 14 days is a general guideline, but depending on what the metrics show, maybe they might be able to open sooner. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, 14 days is the guideline because it's basically the incubation period of the virus, right? It will show up in about 14 days. If a lot of people get infected today, there's then an incubation period, then there's symptoms or not. And then if all else fails, the way you see the increase is in the hospitalization. You know when the hospitalization rate goes up. But when the hospitalization rate goes up, they call it a lagging indicator. It really is telling you who got infected 2 weeks before. So when you wait for it to happen in the hospitals, you are behind the 8 ball. But you will see the infection rate every day. If the economic activity is increasing, but the infection rate isn't, and the hospitalization rate isn't, and the testing rate isn't, and the antibody rate isn't, then you could say we can get a little more aggressive and increase the rate faster. But it's a pure, and again, what's liberating here is it's a pure function of management of numbers. It's numbers, you know? I want to lose 10 pounds. I'm going to try to lose 2 pounds a week. Okay, it's going to take me 5 weeks. Well, first week I did better. All right. So then you calibrate that way, right? This is just a mathematical calibration. And I want to keep it there because I want to keep it out of politics. I don't want to get into, well, people say you should open faster. People say you should open slower. On what basis? Where do you get that from? Well, I just think you could do it faster. On what basis do you think I could do it faster? Well, I think you should be doing it slower. On what basis do you think? It's not what I'm thinking either. Let's keep all our opinions out of it, and let's just look at the data. If the data says 14 days is the guideline, if there is virtually no increase in the indicators, could you argue you're doing better than anticipated and open faster? Sure you could. And that'd be a reasonable theory based on the numbers. But let's keep it on the numbers. Let's keep it on the facts, is all I'm saying.
County breakdown, posting the county breakdown?
When you break down the numbers too far, I don't know how reliable they are. Remember, this whole system that we're now putting online, this has all been developed in the last 2 months. None of this existed. All this daily reporting by hospitals, reporting by nursing homes, reporting by testing sites. So the fear is if you get too granular in the numbers and the numbers get too small, I wouldn't really feel comfortable in their accuracy when you start disaggregating them. But that is not my field. That's geostatistics, which I never even took. So I just want to make sure, well, that assumes that the county data is reliable on a daily basis. And as someone who knows what many of these counties are doing and how they're struggling, I wouldn't put it up and say it is reliable and I would count on any given day. That's why I say on all these numbers from day one, don't take any of these day-to-day numbers as gospel, because this is just a reporting system that is still being developed. So take them all with a grain of salt. Last question.
Really watch, once things reopen, you talk about the individual responsibility, the store shop owner, the bigger businesses. Is someone going to come in and be that kind of watchdog to see that some of these precautions are being taken? Because I think there's kind of a level of different precautions that some people think they're supposed to take and others aren't taking. And who's going to police whether face masks are being worn in hair salons? Who's going to watch out for that?
Well, first, the guidelines are the guidelines. The rules are very specific. They're online. It says exactly what an employer needs to do, an employee needs to do, what curbside pickup is, that an individual should social distance less than 6 feet, an individual should wear a mask when they're not in a position to socially distance or may not socially distance. So the rules are clear, I think. Enforcement compliance is done by the local governments. And we have talked about that a number of times. You have public health people who will be doing the enforcement. Some localities use police to do the enforcement. That's up to the local governments. And also, I believe New Yorkers should enforce it. You know, New Yorkers should enforce it, because this is all about us. This is not really a government function. This is about people working together to achieve a greater goal. You know, I wear a mask to protect you. You wear a mask to protect me. It's my respect for you. It's your respect for me. How these rules are complied with, if they're not complied with, more people will get infected, the infection rate will go up, and then you'll see a necessary reduction in activity, which hurts everyone. So that's, you know, that's how we do it. Yeah, really last question.
Chris's metrics question from earlier, because why I think it's important, based on what I understand, is that the state moved the date for that spikes from basically the beginning of the outbreak to May 15th. Based on what I've been reading, that changes the date that Western New York would have qualified by at least 10 days, that we were still at least 10 days off. So can you give a little clarification as to what exactly did move and how much that changed when this region qualified for phase one?
Yeah, I don't know anything more than I told you. A 3-day rolling average is a 3-day rolling average going back 3 days from today, right? That's a 3-day rolling average.
Yep.
And we have numbers for what that 3-day rolling average must be. So today's Monday, Sunday, Saturday, Friday, that's the 3-day rolling average.
It's based on the last 3 days, and what we've been very clear on was that once we hit May 15th, as soon as a region met the benchmarks, they could enter phase one. So the time reset on May 15th, which was the end of the pause. The last 3 days, Western New York met the benchmarks. The numbers that I gave you, the -6 on the hospitalizations and the 2 on the deaths for the 3-day rolling average, which allowed them to enter phase one.
The New York Forward book note says that number can never exceed 15 or 5 respectively, so I think that's where the confusion is.
I don't know, you're above my pay grade.
It's on the net change in daily spike. It's not exceeding at all, like not from a baseline of 0. It's the -6 in hospitalizations and the 2 in deaths.
How did we get so many contact tracers? Yesterday, the governor said we were 352 short.
Great work of our county executives. They
County-
identified the bodies within the counties.
County executive, city, you came up with contact tracers, scrambled. Every region has a number of employees who they're going to make available as contact tracers. Any other area, LG?
There are individuals from the various counties participating, people who work in county public health departments, county social services. Even in Niagara County, we have 50 sheriffs that have been identified. So we've really enlisted the public servants from the 5-county region. They have stepped up. They've been participating from the very beginning. They take a 4-hour training course, and they'll be ready to launch tonight.
You too can be a tracer.
Constitutionality.
It's a great second job.
Constitutionality question.
Mark, thank you
Governor.
very much. Thank you, Governor. Thank you,
Governor,
Mayor.
on
Thank you.
constitutionality, do you think that, are you concerned about whether there could be lawsuits or anything against